Next, we move into a fireside chat on winning models, future-ready business strategies for India's textile sector. May I invite on stage our moderator, Mr. Prashant Agarwal, co-founder and partner, Wazir Advisors. I would also like to invite our guest, Mr. Vasant Sridhar, co-founder of OfBusiness. He is a co-founder of OfBusiness, India's largest tech-enabled B2B platform. He is the CEO of the finished goods division. He has built apparel, footwear and accessories into a 4,000 rupee plus crore vertical operating across 25 plus plants, 25,000 plus workforce, supplying to marquee global clients. Prior to this, he worked at ITC Limited in the CEO's office for manufacturing excellence and new business launches. An IIT Madras alumna, he was named to the Hurun India under 35 place 2024. We welcome you, sir.
Good prompts. And with Vasant being there, I think while she has introduced him, I was talking to him and a brief introduction is like from IIT Madras, was into manufacturing at ITC, cigarettes, and then into steel, and then he came into more into textile business and garment business, in OFB and looking after finance and everything. And I asked him, why from steel to others to garments? He said, it's sexy. So imagine you are in a nice business. So it's not that it's all hue and cry about it, that no, we are not in business. So he has seen other manufacturing businesses and finding it sexy. I think that's a kudos for us. And that's what we have to make it more and more, to see that how we really, it's a fashion business. And we have to be definitely on toes. We need to be, so I think the whole idea of this fireside chat is to discuss with him coming from an outside perspective. Because Shiva also came from idea from telecom industry. He is also coming from other industry. How does he look at our, now he's deep into our industry. And OfBusiness, they work with all young talent, because this is what we talk about. We don't have right people. And we have, this company keeps on creating CEOs, one after another. All young people delivering results. I think with this, the topic today is winning models. So my idea, Vasant, to you is, from your journey, what kind of winning models, how do you really make it happen? Even in today's circumstances, how you are reacting, as well as on a long-term basis, what kind of winning models for us as a garment industry, which really, because you coming it from outside, how it worked. Over to you. First talking about briefly what's your experience, and then we'll one-to-one chat in terms of winning models. At the same time, while we are short on time, but still, if somebody has some questions, because he will have different thoughts, you just raise the hand and I might come in between also for some time, because instead of keeping it to the end. Yeah, over to you, Vasant.
Yeah, so they say that the grass is often greener on the other side, and I come from a background where I've sort of seen all forms of grass. So I have seen steel, I have seen packaging, I have seen polymer, I have seen chemical, and now a large part in what we call fashion or apparel. So honestly, to reinforce that, I think it's a great category, it's a great space, a lot to do in India, which is why we are only going further into this category. We do 4,000 crores in apparel, fashion, manufacturing, and our aspiration is to sort of increase. So we had a very different playbook to get into this category. We understood that if you look at India today, apparel, and I'm using more a larger term to talk about different categories that come under apparel, there is a unique handwriting that every factory has. And I think this is something that they have mastered, built, both with the customer over decades. But I think somewhere down the line, you have to move from a manufacturing handwriting approach to a platform approach, which is what we did. How can you sort of consolidate everything? So what we did was, over the last 7 years, we chose select factories with strong handwriting in certain categories, whether it is women dresses, whether it is leather bags, whether it's athleisure footwear, took over those factories, and then completely did brownfield expansions on those factories. Now, when I say brownfield expansion on those factories, I talk about not doubling capacity, but talking about tripling capacity over a period of 4 years. I am talking about investing a lot in marketing and not just team here in merchandising for more bandwidth, but ensuring that you have a sales office in US, you have a sales office in London, and you're actually investing a lot more in building customers over the long term. Third, I think finance obviously becomes a large lever. Most of us look at finance as a position of defense, but honestly you can use finance to play offense. And a lot of these businesses can run a lot if you're able to bring capital into these businesses. I think fourth, last but not the least, the most important thing, if you look at the sectors that we are in, some of the most scaled organizations, and you take the example of Shahi, you take the example of Gokuldas again, which you mentioned, have been very professional setups. And I think we realized that individual factories with individual handwritings did not have that professional setup to scale to the next 5 times. And we were able to bring in a lot of professional setup to scale, to grow 3 times. And that's been our journey over the last 6 years in what we call a parent.
So Vasant, I think good you talked about customer relationship. I think that's important. All of the exporters will be in touch with a lot of customers. There are negotiations going on. So what's that handwriting which you talked about? How do you really, coming from a different background, young people, how do you develop relationship with the customer so that in the tougher time they are in with you? What is that built up about?
When I talk about handwriting, I think, Warren Buffett said something saying that if you have built a brand, it should show in the margins. And then that's the truth. If you really think you have a handwriting, that should reflect in the gross margins or the contribution margins of your business. If it does not reflect there, it means you don't have a handwriting. I think we were able to get into categories where we realized that the penetration into the customer is very strong. There's a very other famous word called a moat, right? What is your right to win? And I think somewhere we have to change the approach from saying that you are just manufacturing for the client, but you need to have 3-4 layers of moat towards the client. For example, are you probably the largest or the second largest supplier for this client in your country? Are you probably the only or top 2-3 people who can provide multi-country production for this person? Are you looking at it more as just a tech pack business where you are going to develop what is being given to you, but can you do a lot more value add where you do your own development design and a good percentage of your business with the customer is more design led, and rather than it being what you copy from tech packs that's given to you? Can you add value-added services like maybe warehousing, just-in-time, early fulfillment models so that their pain points can be solved? So I think our approach towards working to the customers, while we'll obviously say publicly we love our customers, and every apparel manufacturer here, when he goes back home, hates his customers. The truth is that we do love our customers too, but you need to sort of look at it one level forward, look at their customers. What can I do beyond just the handwriting that I bring into the customer? What can I do so that I have a moat with this customer so that tomorrow, if there is pain on me, there will also be pain on the customer. So I think that's the thought process that we look at our customer relationships. That are you different from everyone out in the market? That you are providing not one, but 2 other services beyond manufacturing, which the customer values you compared to the competition that you're working with.
Thank Vasant, and I think I can just say, because they have all the companies that they are into garment, they have acquired. And first thing they do is they're young entrepreneurs, I would call it, or CEOs. They go and keep meeting a lot of buyers, keep understanding how can I increase business with them. So that's the first task. How do you develop, and that's why I have offices there, how do you develop that relationship? I think that's how, I think, I don't know whether Tonyji, OGTC can think of, you have a cluster, can there be a centralized function, can we really support? Because again, Vasant, for a player like OGTC, again you are talking 4,000 crores. Here we have factories from 100 crores to 1,000 crores, right? So if a 100 crore factory cannot think of like, okay, I can do all what you have listed. So what can be, can you think of something, because you also started in your factory?
Yeah. No, I'll talk 2 points here, customer. I think the need to over communicate to the customer is the most important thing, right? So obviously tariffs, and now I'll get to the elephant in the room, the tariff that's been come across us. And generally spoke to different other promoters and different companies on what they are doing. And surprisingly for 60%, the feedback that I got is, don't speak to the customer now, he will start asking for discounts. And I don't know whether everyone did that, but that was the first thing we didn't do. Because if not today, it's going to hit you, it's going to hit you 10 days down the line, if not 10 days, 30 days, it's going to hit you 2 months down the line. We over communicated to the customer. We ensured that there were calls with every customer saying that, boss, this is something massive. It is massive, that's the truth. But we are here to solve it for you long term. It could be either in moving certain businesses to other locations that what we are doing, maybe MENA or maybe Bangladesh. Or it could be maybe reduction in certain volumes in certain categories, but compensating it by some increase into Europe and other categories. I think we fundamentally did not fear interacting with our customers, because everyone's going to come for a discount and negotiation. I think everyone in the room has gone through that negotiation.
I agree.
But I think we ensured that the last 2 months were spent in just meeting the customer and telling them that we are there. We have 2-3 ideas. This is what we aspire to do short term and long term. Will you sort of work with us towards that aspiration? And in fact, to a lot of our visits that we went to Southeast Asia, to all the Hong Kong and marketing offices, I think beyond everything, the customers themselves didn't know what to do. They loved the fact that you are there saying that let's work on it together. And before they were able to come up with a solution, you could at least directly move them towards something that you wanted. So that's precisely what we did.
Absolutely, normally when we go for a meeting with a client, your client is how are things? So it gives a ball in your court. You can define the course of discussion in that meeting, right? So I think this is very, very important part. I'm noting down and these are very, very important. Over communicating. Sometimes mail comes from a client and we get worried. Now he's asking for more discount. Yes. And he's ruthless. Like it's not that with OfBusiness or with your factories, they were not asking, but you have to sit on the table as partners, as equal. You are not literally, they're asking for discount. But I think over communicating has to be really understood well in literal terms. I am just re-emphasizing this. Over communication is better than no communication, right? Or less communication, or fearing about things. Thanks, I think Vasant on this. One important point which is there, which we come across the whole industry. How do you find good CEOs? How do you find good people? How do you run this industry? If I am not there as owner, then I don't think industry will be able to function efficiently. What kind of solution you have found for that?
I think
because in your company, I didn't find any owner.
Right.
Owners are, everybody is an owner. That's how I interacted and found.
Absolutely. And you look at the most professional setups which I mentioned, all of them, there is no single owner. They have been professionalized to a point that everyone is an owner. I'll give you our own example. Today, the reality is that I think there is this, it's a mindset issue. I think most organizations, most companies here believe that it has to be tightly controlled at a promoter level, and that decides the future of the company is completely wrong. We believe that you need to sort of empower the people. Yes, you need to have great people on the top. Like our director and CEO of one of our apparel companies that you guys know, Amod, is probably the best person that you can ever get. So we've been very fortunate to have someone like him.
Best and young?
Best and young.
I don't know, it's what, 7-8 years experience, that's
yes,
it?
and has been able to grow the business twice in the last 2 years. But I think what's very important is that the way he works, because if you honestly ask me in this business, it's the middle management which are most important. In our business, it is the most complex business that it is compared to other categories that we are in. FHO, efficiency, material, rejection, costing. There are 100 moving parts. And fundamentally, any business with so many moving parts cannot be centralized. It has to be decentralized. It has to be done at a very professional manner where you monitor every metric, you empower teams to drive these metrics, you empower two level of middle management to drive 3 other metrics, and together you need someone on top to hold it all together. Yes, the guy at the top matters, but the guy at the top has to empower the middle management. So I think that's precisely what it is. The second thing is, I think whatever doesn't get measured doesn't get improved. And I think somewhere down the line, because we come from a more manufacturing engineering mindset, not linked to just apparel, we have monthly MISs that run to 300 line items to monitor so many metrics, from your style-wise gross margins to go to what is your cost per SAM, to go down to how much of your design-led conversions happened this month, to your allocation to sampling for a customer this month. First thing, put everything in the room, put everything onto a table. This has to come on the table on a monthly basis, or ideally we are not more efficient than that, but even at a more frequent basis. Then go through line item wise. Wherever you see a problem, get them involved, get them into the room, discuss what needs to happen. So this is what I mean, it's more a professional setup, right? Beyond the point, it's manufacturing. Manufacturing is manufacturing irrespective of the sector you are in. So the moment you are able to get a great, young, hungry, first principle thinking person at the top, who will not come with a bias, but will want to do everything with a first principle approach, build a great monitoring system so that every metric of your business can be measured, and then ensure that you empower your middle management to solve all the problems. I think that's the only way a business as complex as ours is can be solved. It cannot be solved by a single guy at the top.
Thanks. I think we deserve a clap for this. This is how young people are handling their people. If I remember, come from Indian Oil background, again from a different background, nothing to do with garment industry. So, and Vasant, we are talking is 2012 pass out. So it's what, 13 years? So we are talking about young people handling as CEOs and handling. I think one important message, just for repetition, business is all about details. Every line item matters. As promoter, I don't know that you can go into every line item. Nobody else. Even in our company, I can't go into line items. People are to be empowered. They have to deliver. They have to bring on the table. I think that's. And Tony ji, I have discussed with you, have explained so many times. Now Tony ji, looking at the top level, like sometimes she looks at line item and say, suddenly I have improved so much. So personally looking at line item, things change drastically. I think thanks Vasant for that. And it's a lot of encouragement for all of us that we can look for these younger people, make them entrepreneur, and they will deliver. I think that's the mantra, and that's where we have to go. So again, when we say, so you mean to say, are we running in a corporate way, or there is some other way to run this garment business? Or how do you say, okay, people, middle management, nitty-gritty, but is it run in a corporate manner?
So I don't like the word corporate, because the word corporate, with it comes the image of slow. So I rather use the word professional. Because we still work with the agility, we are professionally run, but we work with the agility that many corporates don't show. So yes, to your point, yes, every metric is processized. Lot of people in the company, almost 30% of the company coming from a non-industry background who can view it from a first principle standpoint. Ensuring that incentives for everyone are also aligned to the business profit. And ensuring that there is key differentiation. There is a separate marketing team, separate sales team, separate ops team, separate IE team, separate R&D team, and not R&D in fabric, but separate R&D machinery team, separate R&D in fabric team. And you have to ensure you break it down into 10, 20 different departments, metrics for every department, right incentives for everyone. and monitor it and run. And most importantly, ensure that you are adapting very, very agile, that you change, you try something, it doesn't work, but nothing in life beyond a point is irreversible. Many things that we do are reversible. So you try something, it doesn't work, change it next month. Doesn't matter, you might have taken a small hit for a particular month, but you know what not to do. So we believe that what you will otherwise learn over a 30-year horizon, you will try to short circuit that knowledge and learn it over a year's horizon. So this is what we mean by more a professional setup towards business building.
I think just to put it simply, what I understood from him that you have so many departments. First, it has to be flat, no hierarchies. Every department handled, for example, planning, is the boss, and he can handle it the best, and he can try. He doesn't have to come for approvals here. So you need to try. Every department is important, and then finally it all adds up. I think that's also a revelation, because we as bosses, at least tell me. So tell me what, sir? Are you going to go in detail and answer, or just tell me? So answer is tell me. So tell me, it doesn't take you anywhere. It takes away your time also. Your time is also precious. So I think.
And for most of the things, I think if it comes to a point where they say tell me, you don't need to. In most organizations, you tell them this is a problem. Tell me how to do it. You have to ask them in return. Because again, if it becomes a tell me everywhere, then you become the bottleneck. And for a complex business of ours where you want to scale, yes, there are a lot of decisions you need to. I am not saying that you shouldn't get into detail and micromanage. At some level, you need to in the organizations. But tell me shouldn't be that you are the bottleneck for every decision making. Because then you become the organizations becomes as slow as you. So you have to ensure you monitor, empower, and they tell you what to do. I think that's the difference from I will tell you what to do to you tell me what to do. I think that's the change that has to come about.
One more important point, Vasant, which comes up in all our discussion is training. Training at all levels. People talk about worker, but middle management, senior management. So it's a self-learning, or there is a training mechanism also which can work? What's your experience on that?
So I think for us, it's also by design we are fortunate, because today we make, to give you some sense, we make, say, women apparel, we make outerwear, we make bags, we make footwear, we have width, right? So for us, what incidentally happens is that a lot of training and knowledge transfer happens very fast and efficient across the senior management of the organization very fast. So we have monthly reviews where every organization is drilled, is gone through at length for 10 hours. But every other member of the other factory also gets involved. So beyond a point, you will realize that most 10-15 problems come. And the solutions are also the 10-15 solutions to solve the problem. So the way we sort of do training is more, yes, on the job, because at the pace that all of us are growing, in an ideal scenario, we would want to have more training. But once there is more a forum for discussion across entities, the Bangladesh factory discusses with the one in Bangalore, the one that discusses here in Faridabad, generally that results in a lot of quick on-the-job training and understanding of what can be done. Currently, that's the way we go about training. But having said that, we know that we have to systemize it, process it so that it can also go along with it.
No, I think while we can keep on talking about systems, what is said, when we say on the job, I think to be more refined, it's involvement of each and every person into the whole organization. And there is no better learning than getting involved in action. You are pushed, so you don't forget once you get involved in the action. I think it's again, that's what as an organization, I think a lot of things coming from you, Vasant, that how younger generations can be on the job, involved, because I think sometimes you link to money, everything, but today for younger generation, excitement is also exposure. Excitement is also responsibility.
Correct.
And delivering. I think
the learning curve, I think most people, money is needed, but I think the learning curve to ensure that you are learning and you are delivering and the company is rewarding every single initiative that you have taken. For example, someone has got a pat on the back because he has improved the PCD or the FHO dates by 10%, whatever it is, I think that pat on the back that this was given to you, you have improved, we acknowledge it, great job, and now we want to use this in 2 other units, why don't you tell him the secret of what you did? I think this constant feedback loop and the ability to constantly learn is what today most people want.
That's one of my experience has been. One of the factories we did gap audit. We told their team this is what we can do in 6 months, and by the time we were discussing, their team already did 50% of that. So they are very hands-on kind of people, and team is like you give a direction, they'll be on the job. I think Vasant, other than these micro, I would also like to discuss with you some of the macro factors. Where do you think India stands in geopolitical situation today? Like connecting with buyers, where is the future of India in garment manufacturing?
So at a very broad level, I think that despite what we see against that's come to us over the last 2 months, I think the long-term aspiration for the country and its relevance to most other Europe or US are very, very high. And our customers also, every customer I see value that, because whether it's the political stability, whether it is the access to a population and a high labor pool, whether it's everything that you know about more trained, educated people, whether it is about English, everything, right? And just fundamentally hardworking people. I think it's very much there. Everywhere around, you go to literally every neighbor around, you will realize that there is some problem which hits their stability. So at a very top level, I think that we are going through some pain, but that doesn't change what's the long-term outlook of even companies which are 80% exposed to US or something like that. Even we have a 1,200, 1,300 crore of business to US, but that doesn't change what happens. But I think the only other thing, the only 2 other things, I think it often becomes a category, customer, country combination. Beyond drawing a magic wand at the top, there are also customers, it's a combination of these 3. For example, we are also increasing our presence in Bangladesh. But would we do it for all categories? Probably not, because certain categories have too much in Bangladesh already. But would there be a combination of a US customer with lesser product exposure in Bangladesh? It makes perfect sense. So I think you also need to drill down 1-2 levels and understand if you need to expand, what are the 2 other, it's the combination of customer, category and product. The third thing is we still continue doing 80%, 70-80% of our business from India. But having said that, the need for bilateral arrangements, as mentioned in the earlier talk, and what we see today is only increasing. We continue growing with 50-60% in India. But we'll want to ensure that we also have some inroads in few other geographies. There's a very famous, it's called the flying geese model. So if you look at, that's the economic theory behind manufacturing. When you read a book, you'll realize that if you look at the iPhone, in 1980s, the iPhone was actually made in California. In 1990, it was actually made in Hong Kong. In early 2000s, it was in Taiwan. In the late 2000s, it moved to China. And then Vietnam and now India. Most manufacturing, if we follow this flying geese model, where it comes in a movement of geese and it sort of moves around together. So having said that, like for every commercial entrepreneur in the room, you can't look at it as an eggs in one basket. There are other geographies which have their own benefit. 2 which I mentioned, MENA, which is Middle East and North Africa is one, and the second being Bangladesh. If you are 100% India based, yes, you might have to go through a lot of pain. I'll still say that there's nothing wrong. But you'd want to be majorly bullish on India with some de-risking across 2 geographies, which is what history teaches us, and I think that's what we also want to do.
So, what has taught you? Because I remember when earlier we used to talk to you, you said India only. Then suddenly you are looking globally. So what changed from multi-country to one country, and like, is it really very, very important for all garment players to consider, or?
So now the question is, are you looking at defense or offense? That's the question. If you're trying to look for defense, you don't. India still has long-term benefit and people are happy about it. But they say, right, every crisis is also an opportunity. So how do you look at it another way? So when we say that we are looking at 2 other geographies, it's definitely not from the impact of what's happened over the last 2 months. But how can we change this crisis into an opportunity? How can we communicate to our customers that we are okay to take risks towards what your requirements are? How can we tell them that we are going there for a long term? And hence, I think it's our way to bat offensive in this scenario, rather than just be defensive, saying things will become all right in 6 months.
Okay, I think that really explains. One important question again, I am putting across the questions which comes to you from from me to the industry to him, so that we are all we are covered in the loop with the person in action. So Vasant, one more important question is that we are into certain product categories which India is strong at and he has a lot of presence. And we always talk about we are not in winter, we are not in so many categories, sweaters, jackets. So how do we look at garment manufacturing? Should India still be focusing on this, or how we can expand our horizon? Is really difficult?
It is not, because at least we believe that we cannot be concentrated within just the summer wear women or certain categories that we are strong on. They continue to be our strengths. No other country, Vietnam or Bangladesh, can take it away. But as we have seen in the other model, there are whether it is hedging in terms of order outlook. We think India is not ready in outerwear being one, footwear, athleisure footwear being one. But we believe that if you were to ask us 10 years down the line, will India be very good in this? Of course it will. So you also have to lay a few eggs in these baskets. So wherever, while we continue playing to our strength, we also, so that's the question of what do you optimize for immediately. But there are also certain categories where we know that it will be an investment-led category, it is going to be tough, your efficiencies will be 50%, Vietnam is at 70%, you will need to build the factory capability, tailor capability to do the same thing again and again. So for us, 20-30% we have a long-term outlook to certain categories which we are not yet there. Because we know that 5-7 years down the line that might be
a I asked you this question because we have been talking about this for so long.
Correct.
But not much action has happened, because we feel that if fabric is not in India, I don't think we should make it. So we can't import activewear and leisure fabric and then convert. So
I'll give you
are those categories not for us?
No, we can start looking at the domestic business. Why not? You might not make the attractive margins that everyone in this room enjoy, but you are building capability both in middle and lower management in that. So in some of these categories, we are building, it is thanks to BIS and a few government other initiatives that's coming, we are getting into these categories through a domestic demand approach. And hence build capability in domestic, because then when you are building in capability in domestic, it is, you start with 60-70% import, you reduce it ideally eventually to, you do a lot of localization. Some of these categories we've been able to reduce it 30-40% import. It needs time to get there. Maybe export will never be able to, but there is decent demand. It's India. India has infinite demand, and that's what makes India still attractive too. So while we continue being bullish on exports, and most of the people in this room are, for certain such categories, we also realize that we can solve it by solving an India to India approach in certain categories, which will eventually help us become competitive globally.
I think it's open for audience to ask questions. If somebody has some pressing questions, one can always ask. Okay, yes, sir.
Why is
Mike?
Can we have mic? Can we have one more mic?
My simple question is, textile industry doing very well. Why is next generation not coming into this business? What is your message to the next generation?
Sir, we are in this business because I consider myself next generation. But having said that, I would say that I think they've been pampered too much by the earlier generation. As long as you make it very clear that they will not have many of us will not have their luxury homes in New York and London, I'm sure they will come back into this business and continue to work there.
Again, I said the boss, super boss is 13 years of experience. So I think you have to make it sexy, sir. That's how it started. For people to come in. If you keep telling them, boss, it's a lot of embellishments don't come and fabric doesn't come, so nobody is going to come. So they see their fathers. I don't want to live like them. So I think that's a change. which we need to bring.
It's in general. I'm just talking.
No, I agree. Sir, you raised the right point, very important point. It's not general. This point comes and things have to come in open, and that's why you get an answer. Otherwise, you don't get answers. Anybody else? Yeah, please. Can we give the mic? Maybe rotating mic. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, thanks for a very enlightening talk. I'm just a little curious. We have a lot of professionals over here from our factories who've been in this business, who have not come from any other industry or any other line. What guidance or advice would you give them that you give your lead managers, or you look for something? What are the points the leaders in this room should be looking at? Because they are only the product of the industry. They are not from other industries, most of the people here. So if you would do something.
Yeah, I think that's a constant challenge we face in our factories too. I think the only answer is beyond everything logic prevails. That's the truth of every decision making. So keep your ears open, get everyone with technically sound backgrounds come into the picture. But the problem is once you become very technical, you fall in love with the product rather than falling in love with the commercials of it or the logic of it or the economics of it. And I think all of us in this business are a little fault saying that we love our product more than the economics of it. So I think for us, our guiding principle is beyond everything, logic should prevail. So listen as much as you can to people out there. Go 3 levels down, not only one question, why. 4 levels down, if the answer logically is towards wherever the answer is, the company should take that direction. I think beyond the point, the answer should be towards logic, not beyond anything else. And this will come from either people with years of experience or can come with someone who is having a fresh perspective. It doesn't matter. The logic should make sense.
I think what he's answering is that after 1 or 2 why, people come to the boss. So don't go to the boss. You will find the answer why, and you have the answer. I think I always tell to my team, when you are on the job, like again, as a boss, you age up, right? So you have knowledge of the industry, but the kind of effort, efficiency that you can work on, I think nobody else. So you can go for guidance, but don't go for answers. Answers you have to find yourself. You can come to guidance for the boss, right? So I think Vasant really well said. I think there are 1 or 2 more questions. While maybe we'll cut short time, 5 minutes here, there, somewhere. But I think it's a very good things developing. Please, over to you.
Hi, Prashant and Vasant. You were talking about that activewear and athleisure is a scope.
Yeah.
But you know, the composition on this product is maximum is a Chinese. 80% is polyamide. So how there is a potential in this market? How we can compete with the Chinese fabric? Because Prashant was also saying that fabric has to be made in India. So how that there is a potential in that market? Because we are depending on China on these kind of fabrics.
Correct. So that is why what we have done in these categories is there are certain brands who have a India to India mandate. And India to India mandate, they know that there is no option. They proportionate the pricing, they proportionate the way they treat you because they understand it's a made in India BIS business. There is an India to India mandate for certain brands. Hence, we are not talking about being globally competitive, but first, can you become domestically competitive? That you become the best factory in India doing this India to India model. Do that over 5 years, exactly in this category, and then you build capability. You believe that the ecosystem will also come, and you can also become globally competitive.
And the pricing are not same everywhere. See, you import fabric, and today so many plants I know which are very good competitive synthetic fabric plants are coming up in India. 1 year down the line, you will find a lot of good fabrics. But you import, it's like iPhone. If you know that you can't make parts, you will never assemble it and you will never export it. Once you start assembling, parts will also be made. So I think, let's not get into who comes first. Let's get the fabric, start making, exporting, you will have all the fabrics here itself. So I think that's also a little bit on that line.
The governments also, there are multiple geographies, we all know, center of India, east of India, where the government is also very supportive through multiple initiatives, both capital and capex and opex subsidies, so that all this short-term pain that is there in certain categories can be partially offset with government benefits. So I think that's why those benefits are also being offered, and that's what we've seen in many other categories. So if you can play on a combination of that, it will definitely work out even from an investment standpoint.
Thanks. I think I can continue, but time is over. And Vasant, I would request to be here at least till lunch so that some people have more questions they will ask. Everybody gets inspired by younger people nowadays. With that, I will end with a note. I think through conversation with Vasant today and overall as a company, I would say I think we have to rewrite the way we have to do business. We have to give up more. I think that's the first step. I can list down not what we have talked about, but I think as seniors we have to give up more. And I have seen if you give up, the juniors have the responsibility to take it up. And sometimes you have to push them also, yes. Because you won't find everybody equal. I think this is what they have done as an organization. Thanks for such enlightening thought. Maybe all of us will learn something and do changes in our organization is what I would look for.
And I must conclude again with what I started telling you, that for people who have seen multiple businesses, this is a sexy industry. So I hope you continue being in this sexy industry.
Yeah, thanks for.
Hello. Yeah.
एक मिनट.
Yeah. Thank you, gentlemen, for such an engaging and insightful session. I request you to please remain on the stage for a moment as we felicitate you. May I now request Mr. Mandeep Vasu, Director of Goody Exports, to kindly present the memento. To kindly present the memento to Mr. Prashant Agarwal, to Mr. Vasant Sridhar, thank you so much.